Ja, dann wird's jetzt erstmal wieder Zeit für einen Tag am Strand.
Where are we going today?
Let's try somewhere further away this time.
Tja, wie schon gesagt, dann wird's jetzt erstmal wieder Zeit für einen kleinen Tag am Strand. Wollen wir doch mal sehen, wie viele Informationen wir jetzt aus Perrie herauskriegen. Und wie lange es ja sogar auch noch dauert, bis die Wahrheit ans Licht kommt. Generell hätten wir jetzt an der Stelle sowieso schon viele Informationen neu erhalten können. Hätten wir doch darüber erwähnt, dass Clervie die bedienstete Mutter genannt hat und nicht Vater. Allein das hätte jetzt doch aufhorchen lassen müssen.
Ah, it's you two again. I must say, you look a bit pale. Did you have trouble sleeping last night?
A little.
Perhaps if you had less on your mind, you'd be able to absolve yourself of such troubles. So what are you planning to do now? Catch up on some sleep? Or should I give you some time to rack your brain for a topic to discuss before I ask any questions? Although I must profess to being curious. Without child here, how do you plan on distracting me?
Us? Distract you? A good one. But no, we were just here for a chat.
Looks like you could have used some extra time to think. No matter. If you don't have any other plans, why don't you accompany me somewhere? Don't worry. I'll be sure to steer clear of any scheming children.
The ocean breeze is sure nice today.
Du weißt also alles?
Children always think they can hide things from the grown-ups. But nothing gets past me. Least of all a little scheming. I think I'll let them have at it for a little longer. I can be very patient. Well, I'll leave you to think things over. If you're so inclined, meet me outside the Palais Mermonia. Good things come to children who do as they're told. So I do hope you decide to tag along. If only for your friends' sakes.
What should we do? She clearly knows about everything we've been doing, and Paimon doesn't think it'd be a stretch to say she was threatening us just now.
Wir sollten den Vogel von Liney freilassen.
Oh, good idea. Hopefully he sees it in time. Well, we should probably head to the Palais Mermonia. Paimon doesn't want to find out what happens if we don't show up. Based on what the knave was saying just now, it sure didn't seem like it'd be anything good.
Alles, was wir tun können, ist einen Schritt nach dem anderen zu machen.
Okay, then we probably shouldn't keep her waiting. It seems like Linny and the others are on thin ice, so let's do our best to not get them in any more trouble.
Also gut, dann erstmal auf zum Palais Mermonia. Mit hoher Wahrscheinlichkeit kommt es jetzt zu einem Gespräch mit Neuvillette. Nur wie nett könnte das denn jetzt eigentlich werden?
Seeing as we still have some time before my meeting, we might as well enjoy some pleasant conversation while we wait. I'm glad to see you get along with my children. Being surrounded by good companions is necessary for a child's development.
You're not planning on doing anything to them, are you?
I assume you're referring to Linny, Lynette, and Fremine. Although, there's that situation with Filial and Nentoy as well. It appears quite a few people have been acting out lately. No matter. I'm not one to discriminate. All those who betray the house meet the same fate. There are no exceptions.
Does that mean you're going to kill them?
Oh, are you here to beg for their lives? I'm sorry to disappoint, but the rules of the house change for no one. In my organization, everyone is responsible for their own actions.
But don't you care about them at all? They really respect you. They even call you father. You must feel something for them.
Any organization in which feelings come before principles is one destined for ruin. The House of the Hearth is hardly an exception. You could say our principles are more stringent than most. Perhaps I can offer you this consolation at least. As our guests, you two will not be held accountable along with them.
Gibt es denn wirklich keine andere Möglichkeit, die Sache aus der Welt zu schaffen?
I would imagine Liney, Lynette, and Fremine will be able to keep their lives. As for Filion and Toy and the others, I'm afraid there's little I can do. They can try to escape, but once you know our secrets, there's no getting out alive.
But that's awful.
Ah, you seem concerned. Out of consideration for my guests, I suppose I could turn a blind eye for a little longer. If Liney and the others manage to dispose of Clervie in the meantime, all evidence of their wrongdoing will be lost. In that case, I could hardly punish them for something I couldn't prove. If their efforts are unsuccessful, on the other hand, all will be held accountable. And the punishment will be severe.
Dann ist es also abgemacht.
Of course. Oh, and here. I believe this belongs to you. Do try and keep better track of it next time. It takes a considerable amount of time to train a bird like this. It would be such a pity if you were to lose it. Permanently.
Wait, where did you get that?
Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have to chat. Now, for the matter at hand. I asked you to meet me here because I have business at the Palais Mermonia. It has nothing to do with you, but I think it would be prudent for you to stick by my side for the time being. There will always be time later to run off and tell Liney what you've learned. Well, time to go. Looks like we wrapped things up just in time.
Okay, folge der Bediensteten und schließe die Verhandlungen ab. Wie auch immer die Verhandlungen jetzt eigentlich lauten. Okay, wo genau müssen wir jetzt hin? Hier hin? Nein, wir müssen ja sowieso wo eher ins Büro von Neuvillette.
It's been a while, Monsieur Neuvillette. I must say, I wasn't expecting my meeting request to be approved quite so quickly. The Palais Mermonia operates with an efficiency worthy of admiration.
It is only right that an esteemed diplomat such as yourself should be afforded the proper level of respect. Although, if I may speak plainly, I must confess that I did not anticipate we would have the occasion to meet again after presenting you with the Gnosis. I see you brought the Traveler and Paimon with you as well. If I may inquire as to the purpose of your visit.
I'll be departing Fontaine shortly. There is, however, an outstanding matter that I would like to see resolved before I go. It requires a rather lengthy explanation, I'm afraid. So I took the liberty of explaining everything in this proposal. Please review it at your leisure, Monsieur Neuvillette.
Na, jetzt bin ich mal gespannt, was in den Antrag drin steht.
I understand your request. However, at the risk of causing offense, I must admit that I fail to see why you would wish for such a thing.
I heard you have a certain fondness for water tasting, Monsieur Neuvillette, so allow me to use water as an analogy. A family is like a large body of water with countless rivers flowing in and out. As someone who watches over this system, I would hope that each river that flows from the source will eventually reach the ocean. Of course, objectively speaking, I know this is impossible. Most of the rivers will dry up along the way, disappearing into the ground and leaving nothing but a barren riverbed behind. Not all rivers are destined to reach the ocean, but I would not see their existence rendered meaningless. I believe the water that flows within them is simply meant for a different destination, like a field in need of irrigation. Or perhaps the glass of a certain water-tasting enthusiast.
Did you get any of that, Traveler?
Naja, nicht wirklich.
Your words paint an optimistic picture indeed. Allow me to remind you, however, few among us are willing to sip from a glass filled with tainted water.
It may have been tainted at one point in time, but not to worry. I'll make sure it's strained of all impurities and returned to its cleanest form.
I seem to recall there being a transactional aspect to your proposal. Perhaps you could expound on that?
If you accept my proposal, Monsieur Neuvillette, I will gradually withdraw my forces from Fontaine. And, unless absolutely necessary, I will no longer carry out any special missions within Fontaine.
I presume I can take your words to mean that, in the future, cases similar to the Tartuffe assassination will cease to cross my desk?
Tartuffe? Ah, that thief who embezzled funds from all those charities, you mean? My deepest condolences to his family, but without any evidence, I cannot imagine how the House of the Hearth might have been involved in his passing. Of course, if you accept my proposal, Monsieur Neuvillette, I'm sure certain measures could be taken to reduce the frequency of such troubles.
You choose your words carefully indeed. In that case, I am inclined to accept your proposal.
My thanks for your generosity, Monsieur Neuvillette. Well, with that settled, we should be going now. I took the liberty of bringing along 2 bottles of spring water from Shanghai for you to enjoy. I do hope I get the chance to hear your impressions. Perhaps at our next meeting, yes?
Indeed. I trust you would not overlook your commitment in the meantime.
All right, Traveler Paimon. Time to go.
Tja, gut, jetzt verlassen wir also Palais Memonia. Und wissen jetzt auf jeden Fall, dass sie Neuvillette ein Gastgeschenk mitgebracht hat. Oder besser gesagt, ein Geschenk mitbrachte. Und dass sie auf jeden Fall plant, verunreinigtes Wasser wieder zu reinigen und das irgendwie mit ihrem Antrag zu tun hat und dass das irgendwas mit ihrer Organisation, wohl mit einigen Mitgliedern zu tun hat. Na gut, dann wollen wir doch mal sehen, wie es dann eigentlich Liney und Co. so bisher ergangen ist.
What exactly were you talking about back there? Paimon only heard you mention some rivers, a large body of water, and then some kind of irrigation scheme.
You really want to know? I would imagine there might be more pressing concerns at the moment.
Linny, Paimon really hopes everything's going okay. Oh, Paimon recognizes that look. You've got your tiki cap on, don't you, Traveler?
Die Bedienstete mag zwar entspannt wirken, aber sie schien vorhin nicht gescherzt zu haben, als sie sagte, dass diejenigen, die die Organisation verraten, mit ihrem Leben bezahlen. Ich denke, sie meint es ernst mit der Bestrafung der Kinder. Wie können wir sie nur aufhalten? Nein, es gibt zunächst noch etwas anderes, was wir herausfinden sollten. Während unseres Gesprächs von dem Palais Mermonia erwähnte sie Clervie. Heißt das etwa, dass sie die ganze Zeit wusste, wo Clervie war? Vielleicht hat sie sogar vorausgeahnt, was Liney und die anderen tun würden.
Oh, shoot. Are you alright? Oh, jeez. I'm so sorry. I was so focused on selling these papers, I wasn't looking where I was going.
Ach, ich habe auch nicht aufgepasst. Aber er war auf jeden Fall auf der Liste drauf gewesen. Der Dahingeschiedenen. Aber höchstwahrscheinlich wohl auch nicht so recht.
Well, let me make it up to you at least. Here, take this paper. On the house.
Irgendwie kommt er mir bekannt vor.
Oh, you don't have to give us anything.
Please, I want to. It's not like I'm short on supply. All the extras will be useless come tomorrow anyway. It's my fault, really. I was just trying to bring home some extra mora for the family, but I bit off more than I can chew. I haven't had many takers today, so I'm still swimming in papers.
What's going on here?
Nothing much. I just ran into your friend here on accident. I should probably get going, actually, so...
Hold on.
Of course, I'm happy to compensate you with mora, it's just... I don't have any on me at the moment.
I'll take 3 papers. Here. Your payment.
Oh! Thank you for your patronage. May the Archons bless you with good fortune. If only I had the chance to run into such generous customers every day. I should probably just take on a smaller inventory though, right? I'm getting married soon, so sometimes it's hard to not get ahead of myself. Anyway, I should head out. Goodbye!
Also, ich denke auf jeden Fall, diejenigen, die das Haus des Kamins verlassen, verlassen auf jeden Fall das Haus nicht tot, sondern sie verlassen es so, dass sie keinerlei Informationen mehr über das Haus preisgeben können. Also mit anderen Worten, ihr Gedächtnis wird gelöscht.
Well, now
Sie
that
werden
my affairs
quasi
are settled, we should take the boat back to Poisson. We've even acquired some light reading to enjoy along the way.
Also diejenigen, die das Haus des Kamins verlassen, werden quasi geblitzdings.
Actually, why don't we stick around for a little longer? Paimon just realized how hungry she is. She can't head back to Poisson on an empty stomach.
Sieht aus, als wolle Paimon uns noch etwas Zeit verschaffen. Wenn wir jetzt zurückkehren, werden Liney und die anderen kaum vorangekommen sein. Was sollen wir
It
tun?
appears you two are under the impression that delaying our return will somehow alter the situation in your favor. I'm sorry to ruin your fantasy, but your efforts are meaningless. That being said, I could be persuaded to give Linny some extra time. I just have one condition. If you agree to my request, I'll even answer some of your questions. You're quite curious about Clervie, are you not? And my relationship to her.
Wait, why are you being so generous all of a sudden? You're not gonna ask us to do something bad, are you?
You overestimate yourself. You don't have the talent for bad things.
Then what can you possibly...
The most important consideration in a negotiation is that both sides receive something they want. Demands and threats only get you so far.
Deine Bedingung, lass hören.
Wonderful. Here it is. When the time comes, make the choice that you deem most appropriate in the situation, and lend your help to the House of the Hearth.
Okay, sounds normal enough. But what do you mean, when the time comes? When is that supposed to be?
That is for you to decide.
Wir akzeptieren deine Bedingung.
Then we have a deal. Follow me.
Also gut, Vögel im Käfig. Und jetzt ins Sonnenlicht. Folge der Bediensteten zu den namenlosen Ruinen. Ach, die namenlosen Ruinen befinden sich jetzt sicherlich im neuen Gebiet von Fontaine. Nein? Okay, damit hätte ich jetzt nicht gerechnet, muss ich zugeben. Damit hätte ich jetzt beim besten Willen nicht mit gerechnet. Ich dachte jetzt eher, wir müssen ins neue Gebiet jetzt hin. Aber gut, dann eben nicht. Dann müssen wir halt einen anderen Weg einschlagen. Ein Weg, der jetzt etwas umständlicher ist. Aber die... Moment mal, wieso zum Henker werden jetzt... Wird jetzt das Gebiet der Saki rot angezeigt? Das stimmt doch jetzt irgendwie nicht. Das stimmt doch jetzt so ganz und gar nicht. Ach so, deshalb. Das gehört jetzt teilweise in ein Gebiet, wo wir jetzt nicht hin sollen. Ein klitzekleines bisschen umständlich mal wieder dargestellt. Okay, das sind jetzt auf jeden Fall die namenlosen Ruinen. Und überraschenderweise wird dann anscheinend wohl hier der Bossfight stattfinden.
What is this place?
Somewhere long forgotten by everyone. It used to be a grand building. Now it's nothing more than a pile of rubble. No one comes here anymore, nor does anyone care about what once happened here. Although, this place does have something to do with the story I'm about to tell you. It was before I became a harbinger, and before Liney and the others joined the House of the Hearth. Due to certain events, I first killed Clervie and then her mother. And this is where it all happened.
You were the one that killed Clervie?
Warum?
Patience now. Allow me to explain Clervie's side of the story first. I'll start from the beginning. Clervie was 6 years old when she was brought by her mother, Crucibina, to live in the House of the Hearth. From the outside, it seemed like a fairy tale. A thriving family made up of kind adults and friendly children. Crucibina was the knave at that time, and the House of the Hearth was under her control. She was Clervie's mother by blood, but she was also the mother to all the children in the house. Clervie was happy here, for a time. But she quickly realized that being part of this family wasn't a fairy tale at all. It was a kind of purgatory.
Purgatory?
Exactly. The House of the Hearth takes in war orphans from all over Tevat. But as for how to raise them, that depends entirely on the person in charge. Crucibina came up with a novel idea. She would teach the children to fight, force them to duel each other, and then crown as the king of the house the child who proved themselves most worthy of inheriting her title. It's difficult to estimate the number of children who died or were maimed in the process. There's little I can say about the ones who died. The ones that emerged with permanent injuries, on the other hand, well, they still served a purpose. They would be handed over to the doctor to be experimented on, or sent away on dangerous missions. Nothing more than tools to be used and then discarded.
So those were the experiments Clervie was talking about. But what actually happened to her? You said that Clervie was Crucibina's daughter, so if Clervie tried to convince her to stop what she was doing, Crucibina probably would have listened, right?
Despite being Clervie's mother, Crucibina cared little for her daughter. She forced Clervie to join the House of the Hearth only as a means to demonstrate her own impartiality as a mother, to prove that she treated all her children equally. Clervie did try to convince her mother to change her ways, but it was to no avail. After her efforts failed, the only other option was to rise up and try to fight back. Unfortunately, the other children had already been thoroughly indoctrinated into the illusion of happiness Crucibina had created. Of course, there was one exception. Someone Clervie's age who knew the truth about the House of the Hearth. Her name was Perrie.
Also Perrie.
Wait, the friend that Clervie mentioned?
Friend, huh? I suppose we can call her that for now. Clervie was a cheerful and passionate person with a tenacious spirit. Perrie, on the other hand, was rather cold-blooded. Her cold-blooded nature allowed her to see through Crucibina's facade. Yet, it was also this cold-bloodedness that prevented her from acting against it. At least at first. While Clervie longed for freedom, Perrie was convinced that, amid all the fighting and violence, she would make it until the end. Despite their differences, the two became fast friends, united by their knowledge of the truth. Clervie told Perrie that she hoped to create a real family, where no one would be killed or sacrificed. There may have been a certain naivete to her ideas, but Clervie proved her determination many times over. She tried countless times to run away, ask for help, or expose the truth. But her efforts only earned her beating after beating. The only thing that kept her going was her strength of will. Even with her body racked with pain, she would still stand on her tiptoes and open the window at night. She and Perrie would look out at the moon together, a fierce longing for freedom shining in her eyes. But one day, that light simply vanished.
Oh no. What happened?
Her hopelessness resulted from a culmination of things. 10 years had passed. 10 years worth of failure after failure. She and Perrie weren't children anymore, but finding any chance to escape still seemed as hopeless as ever. It was during this time that Perrie suggested a new plan. If escaping was out of the question, why not take down the very person sitting on top of this throne of lies? Mother herself. Clervie rejected that proposal. She claimed that, as a famous harbinger, Crucibina possessed an unimaginable amount of power. Trying to kill her would have an incredibly low chance of success. Clervie never gave another reason, but Perrie could see it written all over her face. Clervie still thought of Crucibina as her mother. Killing her own flesh and blood was a line she couldn't bring herself to cross. If she couldn't escape and fight back, then only one option remained.
Der Tod.
Precisely. Death was the only way that she felt she could be free. It happened during a duel. When she arrived at the dueling ring that day, her partner turned out to be none other than Perrie, the very person that had stood by her side all those years. It was a fierce battle. But ultimately, Clervie decided to let Perrie end her life. From that moment on, Perrie's journey was one written in flames. When the rain finally came and washed it all away, there she stood, the sole victor in Mother's endless game of slaughter. A trail of corpses strewn across her path to success. It was the very result she had predicted 10 years prior. Even then, she believed she would make it until the end. She wasn't surprised by the fact that she emerged as Mother's undisputed heir. Rather, her success left her with an inexplicable sense of restlessness. She was unsettled, and there was only one thing that could quell that sensation. Perhaps you two would like to take a guess as to what it was?
Der Schlange den Kopf abzuschlagen?
Crucibina, you mean? But...
Correct. This is the place where Perrie killed her best friend. A mere year later, this is also the place where she fought tooth and nail to kill the mother they shared. The moment she acted, any conception of what was right or wrong ceased to matter. It's one of the principles of the house. Only those who survive get to write the rules. Perrie won the battle, and became a harbinger herself. After which Her Majesty, the Tsaritsa, bestowed upon her a new name. Arlecchino.
So the Perrie Clervie was talking about... It was you all along. You're Perrie. Arlecchino is just a name you got later.
Es war also ebenso deine Geschichte, wie es auch die von Clervie war.
I left that name behind long ago. I must say, hearing it now does bring back memories. After I defeated Crucibina, the moniker of Mother died with her. I chose to forego the title she called herself, and even chose to give up my own name. I rebuilt the House of the Hearth under a new identity. Not only as Arlecchino, but as father. And that is where the story ends. Any more questions?
Also die Clervie, die wir getroffen haben, also wer genau ist sie?
Yeah. Based on what you just told us, Clervie wasn't a little kid when she was killed. So the Clervie we met... Was she really a spirit at all?
I suppose you could call her an illusion born of flame. Her existence is like ashes to a fire. Something left over in the wake of blaze and ruin. You see, a certain power runs through my veins. It's not unlike a curse. My flames leave behind shadows of anything they consume. Of course, the chances of those shadows morphing into a sentient entity are exceedingly slim. Clervie is a very special case. Clervie died when she was 16 years old, but what emerged from the flames was her 6-year-old self. Her appearance wasn't the only thing affected. Most of her memories were lost to the blaze as well. Memory is a mysterious thing indeed. Losing a portion of your memories will alter your sense of self. Lose 10 years' worth, however, and it would be like living in the past. Like returning to a version of yourself that never grew up.
No wonder Paimon got such a weird feeling when we were talking to her.
Perhaps I should put it this way. Clervie is someone trapped in time. It may seem like she exists with us in the present, but she truly lives in the confines of her own past.
So if all of that is true, then you must have known about Clervie for a long time.
Indeed. She's a rather volatile and unstable entity. Sometimes she would look after the children. She's even saved some of their lives. But other times, she would hide from me and become obsessed with revealing the truth about the house to anyone who will listen. Shadows don't have the capacity to learn or grow. Any new information they encounter is quickly forgotten over time. Your attempts to expose Clervie to sunlight, they failed, yes? The reason is actually quite simple. In Clervie's mind, the house is impossible to escape, and it is this very perception that traps her there. But no matter. All I have to do is kill her again, and all will be resolved. I I don't anticipate so much as a single speck of ash will be left behind this time.
Wait! Paimon can understand why you might want her gone, but isn't there another way? So what if she's trapped in her 6-year-old self? She's still your friend! At least talk to her first!
It's too late for that. She broke the rules, and now she must be punished. That goes for Filial and Nentoy as well. She's had quite the effect on them. I hope you understand. The difference between Crucibina and myself lies in our formulation of the rules, not our policy for enforcing them. Upholding the rules without question is a trait we both share, because that is how a household should be run.
Is this really what you want to do?
Whatever could you mean?
Don't you want to say a proper goodbye at least?
Whether as a killer or as a father, there are two things that must be avoided at all costs: anger and sorrow. Anger makes you impulsive. Sorrow causes you to waver. Well, it appears it's about time to proceed. Before we arrived, I told some of my well-behaved children to bring our troublemakers here by nightfall. I do believe I've kept my end of the deal. I gave your friends quite a bit more time. As for what happens now, we'll just have to wait and see.